everybody, today we are trying out new face products, and I really want to focus on this Charlotte Tilbury Unreal Skin Sheer Glow Tint. I think this is interesting because I was a little confused about what it is. So I thought we could start with an absolutely clean face. I do have eye makeup on and I do have my brows done, but I have nothing on my skin. I usually put on my Guerlain Water Oil or, you know, the Chanel primer or something. But today, since we're going to be using these products, I was like, let's not. You will also notice that my skin is strangely broken out. And I say strangely because I generally, like right here, I generally don't. My problem with my skin is that it's dry. I don't have acne. That's not my particular problem. I have many others. So yeah, it's weird. Now I have been traveling, and so it's entirely possible that's what it is. I don't really know. So this is going to be a great wear test because we're gonna see how this stuff works. I also have a new to me bronzer. We'll get into that in a second. A different shade of the Makeup by Mario. I want to retest the Patrick Ta highlighter because I can't seem to get that to work. And then the Kosas Wet Stick. It's a moisturizing lip shine, which is like right up my alley. But let's focus on this for a second. So this is the Charlotte Tilbury Unreal Skin Sheer Glow Tint Hydrating Foundation Stick. And there are a lot of different shades. It was a little hard even in the store to figure out what my shade was because it's an interesting product. let's put it that way. I ended up buying 1.5, which is fair with warm undertones, which is an interesting choice for me. Usually I don't go that way, but you'll see why I chose that, I think. I almost picked 2, which is fair with cool undertones. I was very, very close. Or 3, fair with neutral undertones. But again, when you swatch it, it's kind of hard. You'll see why. You'll see why. So when you look at it on my hand, right, you notice like it's an interesting shade. So it says it's a light coverage hydrating foundation stick in 20 flexible shades, glides and blends for a weightless second skin finish and glow. It's radiant finish, no doubt about that. It's a light coverage stick, hyaluronic acid blend, vitamin E, Daikon radish seed oil, which is moisturize and help skin look smoother. Basically, it just says swipe, blend, and glow. So I'm gonna put it on. We're gonna see what it does. Now, the reason that I went with the 1.5 instead of the 2 or the 3 is that the other shades seemed really pink. So I thought to myself, you know what? That might not actually be the best thing for me. And the 1.5, although they say warm tones, actually looked more neutral when I swatched it. So let's see what it does. Now, again, it's sheer, it's light, so maybe it doesn't really matter that much if you go with the 1.5 or the 2. The 1 is super light, like way paler than me, to be honest. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, there are people out there way paler than me, so that's good. But it was too, I think it would have just washed me out completely. So that wouldn't have been a good choice for me. Okay. So you see why I went with the 1.5? Because actually it's a good match for my skin tone, which is more neutral-ish. You know, it's got more of a peachy neutral tone. Now, when I look at this on my skin, this reminds me of the Hollywood Flawless filter. It is very glowy. I personally like it because I feel like for someone who has very dry skin like myself, it's nice to have glowy, dewy skin. So I like that part of it. It's 0.31 ounces. It's described as a hydrating foundation stick. I don't know if I would call this foundation. It says it's a buildable sheer foundation stick. Lightweight, breathable. I agree, it's like a balm texture, it's lightweight, all of those things. Let's see if we can build it in the areas like that I have a little more redness. Let me just use my fingers and see how that works. My issue isn't that it doesn't look pretty, because I do think it looks nice. I just think this is a very, very glowy product. Now again, for me, that's not so bad because I like glow to my skin, but personally, I think it's a little too glowy. Leave it as it is. Let's try, you know what? Let's try some powder and see how that works. You know which powder I'm gonna pull out, guys. Of course I'm gonna pull out the Dolce & Gabbana Solar Glow because it's just a great powder and just works really, really well. But I think maybe, you know, if I don't know if I need coverage. Now some people will need coverage because they'll want more of they want to cover up imperfections. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not saying I don't have imperfections. I do. But I've worked very hard on my skin and I've been very lucky over the years as well. So I feel like I've got my skin in a place that I feel pretty comfortable with it now. I mean, I go out a lot without anything on my skin, to be honest. And that's fine. I was just like, yeah, this is what I look like. So I think with just a little powder, yeah, I think that looks great. Now, some people might still think it's a little too glowy for them. I actually think that looks quite nice. Like, I like the glowiness of it because my skin is dry. I think if you're an oily person though, but I think if you're an oily person, you might not pick this out in the first place because it says hydrating foundation stick. I mean, like, I feel like somebody would be like, ooh, hydrating? I don't need that. So let's see how it kind of sits into the skin because I think that's an important thing to, okay. Let's try the Kosas, now again, this is the Kosas Wet Stick. I love the name. I don't actually buy as much Kosas as I should. I do like Kosas as a brand. So let's try out this Kosas Wet Stick. Wet Stick Moisturizing Shiny Sheer Lipstick with Ceramides. This is not a new product, new to me. I've not used it before. And I have it in Tropic Bliss, which is described as a cool rosy mauve. Yeah, I like this, okay. Almost watery, hydrating, plumping, clear, balmy lip care product packed with squalene and ceramides, melts into lips, sheer wash of color, and a touch of soft, kissable shine. It's very pretty. I actually really like it. This is going to go in my video where I'm comparing a whole bunch of new shiny lipsticks, shiny lip balms, whatever you want to call them. Yeah, feels nice. All right. Okay, so I do like that. I also want to mention I have 2 new sculpting, bronzing, contour shades in different products. So again, this is not a new product, but Westman Atelier has the Beauty Butter Powder Bronzers. I've had the shade Coup de Soleil for years. I don't remember how long I've had it, but I've always liked it. It's a terracotta shade. It's very pretty, but my issue with it is that it's a little too warm. I guess that's the best way to explain it. It's just a little too warm for me. And so I don't reach for it, even though I actually think it's a really good formula. And so another shade that came out quite some time ago was a shade called Soleil Riche, or Rich, which I looked at and thought, oh, well, that might work well for me because it's described as a rich chocolate. So it's a cooler tone. But I was like, no, I probably can't use it because the terracotta is already a little too deep for me, and this is definitely going to be too deep for me. Here's the thing though. It is too deep for me in the sense that the shade I have to be careful with, but it's so much cooler and it's almost pinkish. So it actually works for me extremely well. So if you were looking for a Westman product, bronzer, and you're looking at the shades and you're like, oh, they all look a little too much or a little too warm, the Soleil Riche is actually not at all. And I'll show it to you on my face in just a minute. It's actually a really good, cool toned bronzer. And I love the Westman formula. It's a really, really good formula. I put it on my face first, but I want to show you the Makeup by Mario and the Patrick Ta first, because that'll take over the rest of the look. So the Makeup by Mario Sculpting, I've been talking about this ad nauseum, guys. I keep saying how great it is. I've had it in shade Fair. Now, Fair is fair. It's a light shade, it's a contour shade, and I think it's gonna be great for anybody who's my shade or skin tone, my skin tone or lighter, and I think it works extremely well as a contour. I don't think of it really as a bronzer, though. So I went and picked up Light. So here is Fair, and here is Light. And I think Light works really well for me as a light bronzer. It's not like super deep bronzer. If I went with like the light medium, the medium, or any of the other shades, frankly, I think I could get away with all of them because they're all very sheer. But I think the Light is a good bronzer for me. And again, I'll put it on my face. I do want to mention that you guys notice there is a doe foot in here like I just used, which I use for when I want to, keep it really specific on my face. And then there's the pump. And they both work really well. Like you would think that the doe foot would get in the way of the pump, but it doesn't. Like this is a really well designed product as well as being a good formula. So I really strongly urge you to try it before the Sephora sales, because you should try it and see if you like it so that you can put it in your cart before the sales start, because this is a really good product. It's really well done. I know not everybody loves it because it's more sheer, but I really think it's one of those products that people are gonna look back and be like, oh wow, that was a great, like that was a turning point for these types of illuminating bronzer sculpting products, because this one is done so well. I think you'll start to see more like them, and I think we already have. Patrick Ta, on the other hand, this is the baby. The biggest problem with the product is that the cream picks up whatever you have underneath. So like if you have foundation on and you put the cream on, it kind of lifts the foundation, which is not great. So you have to, in my opinion, the way to use it is with the powder first, which is fine. But again, if you're gonna have a product, it should be able to work in any way that you want to use it. So yeah, I'm not totally thrilled about that. So I'm gonna use that first today. I'm gonna show you how I'll show you how I use it. Again, it's pretty. I actually think it's a pretty product. But I don't know, there's other highlighters that I like better and are frankly easier to use because you don't have to, think about, oh, do I use the cream? Do I use the powder? I will say that I do like the pink for me personally. I think it's a nice shade for me. I do think though it's more sparkly. So if you're somebody who doesn't particularly like your texture on that part of your face, yeah, it wouldn't be my first choice for highlighter. I think there's better highlighters out there for people who are concerned about texture. And then I take the cream product and go in and kind of stamp it over the powder. Again, I probably, the way I'm gonna use this is just use the powder. I don't really feel like the need for the cream because I think it just messes everything up. But that's what it looks like. It is pretty. It's a pretty highlighter. Like it stands out. It makes your, it's highlighty. It looks nice, but I'm not thrilled with it. I just think it's okay. And I think if you put the cream down first, it is gonna lift up your makeup. So I wouldn't suggest it. All right, so now the Fair, I'm gonna take the Fair and I'm gonna put it just in here. Now, like I said, this is a product, and I've talked about this before in other videos. You can use it under, you can use it over. It doesn't really matter if you use it over the foundation, under the foundation, it really is a great product. It works regardless of how you use it. It's the sign of a great product because that's what it's supposed to do. Then I'm gonna take the light and I'm gonna use that as more of a true light bronzer, but I'm not gonna use a lot of it because I'm gonna use the Westman Atelier on top of it. Like I said, I don't think you need a lot of this. I don't think it's meant to be a super contouring deep product. I think it's supposed to give you a bronzy glow, and I think it can be used underneath your foundation to do that all over your face, kind of like the Charlotte Tilbury product, or you can use it like I just did. But you see how gorgeous that looks? And actually, with the Charlotte Tilbury foundation stick, it actually looks quite nice. I look very glowy. All right, so now I'm gonna take, this is the bronzer, the Soleil Riche, and I'm gonna use my trusty Tom Ford. And like I said, I am not gonna go in super heavy with this because it is a little too deep for my skin tone, but it's not as bad as it looks in the pan. In the pan, it looks like, wow, that's gonna be way too deep on you, Jen. But when you use it, it's actually, it's not as deep as you'd think. And it's got this beautiful, I would call it like milk chocolate. That's how I would describe it. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of it and put it on my eyes. This is a trick that, you know, many makeup artists do. Basically, to tie into your look, you just use it as shadow. Now you can use it as a contour for your eye, which is what I'm doing, or you can use it all over. It really doesn't make any difference. You know, you decide what works best for you, but it really does tie in your look, especially when you're doing like a glowy look like this. Look like a Bain de Soleil ad. And if you don't know what Bain de Soleil is, that's okay, because this is a long time ago. But healthy, glowy, wow. I have a lot of glowy products on today. So I would say this, like, this I need to play around with, this Unreal Skin Sheer Glow Tint. I think this is basically Hollywood Magic Filter in a stick. I have the 1.5 on, which again is supposed to be fair for warm tones. I don't really see much of a difference. Like when I was putting it on the back of my hand, I felt like, yes, 1 is much cooler, 2 is cooler, 3 is a little deeper. I wasn't like, I don't know if I would really be a 3. I think I was more of like I think I'm more of a 1.5 or 2. I don't think this is warm on me though. Now I look warmer because of all the bronzer, but when you saw it, you know, just on my face, I actually think 1.5 is a good fit for me. It's such a sheer product that I don't think it matters that much. I think it matters, but I don't think it's gonna be a huge difference if you're a 1.5 or 2. You know what I mean? Or 3 or 4. I think it's kind of gonna mesh with different skin tones. It is, in my opinion, too shiny to leave by itself. But powder with it, I think is fine. I think if you used it as a base and put the Lisa Eldridge over it or another kind of tinted moisturizer, I think it would be perfect for most people. The Makeup by Mario products, I'm going to continue to say how great these are. I love the light and I love the fair for contouring and a little bit of bronze. I just think they're beautiful. And I think they look great on the skin. The Patrick Ta, it's a pretty highlighter, guys, but the fact that the cream lifts things, I don't know. I find that annoying. The Kosas, the wet stick, which is cracking me up. It's like sinking into my skin. The only thing I'd say is it is going outside my lip line because it's watery. It's super watery. So if you have lip lines, it's going to go into them. Again, I'll make sure I compare it with the other shiny lipsticks. And the Soleil Riche from Westman Atelier. If you're already a big fan of Westman Atelier and you've used her other products, the bronzer is the same kind of formula. The powder formula is exquisite. And this Soleil Riche shade, I think, is a much better choice for me, and a cooler, beautiful, like milk chocolate kind of shade, which I think is perfect. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the Charlotte Tilbury. I'll keep working on it, keep using it. but I actually like it. It's not that I don't. I just feel like it might be too shiny for me all over with nothing on top. I'll be really interested to see how it looks with that and like a tinted moisturizer on top, which will be my next test. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I really do appreciate it. I hope to see you in another video really soon. Bye.